about Reverend Ray's power as he talks. It's good to have you back. Reverend Ray has so many numbers or letters after his name that I can't give them all to you. And he's working on another one because he's going to become, at least this is my understanding, Minister of Centers for Spiritual Living. So he's worked long and hard on that, and he truly brings forth our teachings in miraculous ways. So Tracy said I didn't have to say too much. She said, like him or not like him, just listen. And we hear his voice, his powerful voice, and I'm here to say that I love to hear that, the broadness of your voice and the message it brings forth. So I just bring Ray to see him.
So how are we all today?
Great.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have to confess that the talk I'm giving today was not the original one. Because Home Office sends out these monthly themes and the weekly themes, and the theme for today was supposed to be comedy, humor, laughter. And when I first saw it, I'm thinking, that seems a little strange. But Amy said, so Ray, remember it's Memorial Day, and we're doing this thing about remembering and honoring. And can you change it? Well, of course. It's Reverend Faith and Amy. If you want me to do a backflip, I'm flexible. So today, what we're talking about is ultimately these three ways of looking at Memorial Day. Now, I don't know how many people in here have email. Okay, so I don't know if you're like me and receive in your email, coming up to this weekend, Memorial Day sale, 50% off. Memorial Day this, 25% off. Buy one, get one free, etc. So there's this first idea that Memorial Day is this day of taking advantage of sales. Go out and buy what you've been waiting to buy. And then there's the, it's about having fun. It's the, Rich put out this thing of his treatment for the week or for the day, saying that Memorial Day, it's the beginning of summer for many. It's this whole idea of, we can rest, we can vacation, we can do this. But see, we're in this teaching, this philosophy called religious science, new thought. And so we are encouraged to go beyond just this idea that Memorial Day is what many people conceptualize it to be. Even when we move to the second group that says, well, Memorial Day is about remembering and honoring the dead. It's about remembering and honoring those who have sacrificed and given all, and remembering and honoring our ancestors, our family who have died and moved on and transitioned and stuff. And that's the second group. But see, as New Thought people, we are encouraged to even go beyond that. Because for us, do we believe in death the way Group 1 does, or the way Group 2 does? There's this gentleman, Alfred Tennyson. Heard of him before? One of the things he says in a little snippet of a poem is that God is closer than our very hands and feet. And in the Koran it says, God is closer than your neck vein. God is closer to you than your jugular. And see, so what is the idea is that there is no separation, that God is all there is. And if God is all there is, then that means it's right here, present, in us, with us, and more importantly, as us. There is nowhere that it is not. And see, one of the great things is we are encouraged to do, ever heard of Emma Curtis Hopkins? Maybe this is the question. Anyone in here not heard of Emma Curtis Hopkins? Okay, thank you. So Emma Curtis Hopkins is called the teacher of teachers. She is basically the woman who single-handedly is responsible in many ways for teaching and creating the three denominations, for lack of a better word, of New Thought. She taught Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who became the founders of Unity. She taught the Brooks sisters, who created divine science. And then later in her life, before she transitioned, she taught Ernest Holmes, who created religious science, science of mind. So she's called the teacher of teachers because all of these people who became the teachers of this philosophy, she taught them. One of the things that she says, and I'm going to read this because I want to quote her specifically. Now just let this marinate for a moment. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Okay, so, because I have so many quotes in here. So you ready? There is no mixture of evil in my good. There is no opposition to my God as material conditions of any kind. There is no absence of life, substance, intelligence. There is nothing to hate. There is no presence of sin, sickness, or death in my world, where God is the only presence and power and wisdom. There is no sin, sickness, death. There is no separation of it, the thing itself. God is all there is. So when we're talking about Memorial Day and remembering, what is one of the highest ways we can honor these individualized manifestations of spirit? Because anybody in here read the Science of Mind magazine? So you know in the beginning of Science of Mind magazine, there's the We Believes. And number 3 says, we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. So all of those who we honor and remember, who have transitioned, are not dead. Now, there's the human side of us that, yes, we talk about it, we reference it, and we mourn. Yes. But then there's the side of us that knows that all that is God. And God cannot die. So there's this balance of how do I walk the walk while holding the truth, while honoring, respecting, and remembering those who are no longer here in the flesh. Now, there was a time when I didn't think that this was possible. So let me share just a smidge for those who may not already know this. There was a time when I was a student at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. And I was studying theater. Who would have guessed? And I was confronted with a demon that I had been dragging around for a long, long time. You see, my father was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease when I was around 8. And given 2 years, approximately, to live. So from that time, 2 years, I'm counting the days, dreading the time when I'm going to come home and find out that my father had died. 2 years came and went. Middle school came and went. High school came and went. College came and went the first time, and then the second time. And then I'm now in VCU for the 3rd time of college. And this idea of death, because in the 51, right? Been here for 51 years in this form. And on an average, I have been to over 1,000 wakes, funerals, or viewings. Wow. That's a lot. They have been family members and friends of family members. They have been complete strangers that my grandmother would say, but Grandma, I don't know. Doesn't matter, you're coming with me. Okay. And there it is. They have been students of mine when I was a public school teacher. One of the first being a young lady who chose not to listen to her grandmother one night and snuck out of her house. 3 weeks later, her body was found without a head. She was in 7th grade. I've seen it. I even tempted it during the time that I hated me. I tempted it and knocked on the door of death saying, please come in and take me because I don't like the family that I was born into. I don't like my life. I don't like me. And I tempted it. And here I am at VCU now. And dare I say, forced to be in this play because, I was shy and quiet. One time I used to be shy and quiet. And I was strongly encouraged, strongly encouraged to be in this play called The Day the Bronx Died. And it's about this character, Big Mickey, who the character doesn't leave the stage at all. So I'm on stage the entire 2 acts. And there's a monologue in there where he says something to the effect of, one of his very close friends had just been killed. And he says, Billy and I were pallbearers at the funeral. Until that day, death had a strange intimacy with me. And I hated saying those lines in rehearsal. Death had a strange intimacy with me. Death had a strange, I hated it. And then opening night, seats are full. First time I've ever been on stage and all eyes are on me now. In this way. Oh, and here I am saying these words once again. And I cried as I said them. Because something shifted in me. Not too long after that, my father transitioned. Now that summer I get a phone call, then a letter. And in the letter he says, I'm doing okay because he just had surgery, I'm doing okay. But if you get a chance, come home. I'd like to see you. And something felt different. So of course I went. The night before I left, the couple of days I was there, everything was fine and family was all the way family always is. But the night that I left, I did the same thing I did when I lived at home and I was the primary caregiver. I put water in his jug, took it into his room, helped him out of his wheelchair into his bed, sat on the bed and said, "So, Dad, what's up?" And he said, "I'm ready." What do you mean you're ready? I'm ready. It's been enough. When you were a kid, I wanted to know that you were going to be okay. And now you are. And I'm ready. 3 months later, he was dead. My entire world was shaken because that demon that I had carried for so long showed up and said, "You thought you could get away from me? You see, you can't escape me because it's going to happen." Then several years later, my third oldest brother, Jimmy, he transitions. But at this time, after my father transitioned, I got back into this philosophy because I needed something. Because I had been introduced to it, and I let it, fall off because of school and life and being homeless for a little bit of time. And last thing you want to do is pick up signs of mine when you're sleeping on a park bench. But I got back into it. So when Jimmy transitioned, I was okay. I mourned, but my mind was in a different place. Then last year, May, my second oldest brother, Leslie, transitions. And for the first time in my life, I was happy while at the funeral home, while standing over his body. Because I knew it from that third place that he is not dead. He can't, because if God is all there is, if I'm going to say I believe this philosophy, and I do, because I've seen far too much evidence to say, well, maybe. I've seen too many things, I've experienced too many things to say that this teaching is woo-woo, wah-wah, nothingness. This is just a bunch of people gathering in a room, holding hands, singing kumbaya, and life is great. Till we go outside, and then the reality of life strikes us down, and then we come back and we say, "Reverend Faith, please pray for me because," but somewhere in us, we don't believe it. That's not what I know. What I've learned is, what I've experienced is, that when we get to this place of really identifying and recognizing that not only is God moving around us, and it's moving with us, it's moving within us, that this breath, it is closer than that. and that it is showing up as us. In that moment, then we are just like Moses and Jesus in their moments of transfiguration. We now know, because there is no more transformation when you're transfigured. The moment of transfiguration, you know that you know that you know. So when we know, what is the highest thing we can now do to honor these people we say, and I don't care what word we use, they died, they transitioned, doesn't matter. Tomato, tomato, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. So call it what you will, but change the way we think about it. And then ask, what is the highest thing I can do to honor my ancestors, to honor those people who have given their all for our freedom? Each of us has to figure that out for ourselves. But for me, what this means is living my life in a way to where freedom means what freedom means for everyone. In other words, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to pray in a way and I'm going to move my feet in a way that the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and Marines eventually become obsolete. That there is no more need for war. Because for as long as I have this idea in my mind, in my consciousness, that we have to have a military for our protection, then I am walking this path that says there is something that needs to be protected. And I am clinging to this lack and scarcity consciousness, that something needs to be defended from who? From an attacker. And I am putting that idea in my mind that there is an attacker. But can God, or will God, attack itself? Ultimately, no. But if I identify someone as an enemy, even if they are not, then I am going to see them that way and treat them that way and identify them that way, and sooner or later in my own consciousness, whether it's that enemy or not, an enemy will show up. Because it's what I'm expecting. So the highest thing that I have chosen to do, I've got 5 sons, 3 of whom are currently in the military, and 1 getting ready to go very soon since he just graduated from the University of Maryland. 4 of my 5 children are currently going to be in the military. But do I allow myself to focus on the idea of war and rumors of war? No, because that's going to force me to be afraid for them. And that does not honor those who have gone before, nor does it honor those who walk with us now. The highest thing I can do is love. Love thy enemy as thyself. Because the moment we love our enemy as ourselves, we realize that there is no enemy. Why did Pogo in the comic strip say, I have seen the enemy, and the enemy is us? The enemy is our consciousness of. Our idea of. So when we honor and when we remember, let us also honor and remember this third way of identifying and focusing our consciousness. Why, when Mary goes to the tomb, why do the gardeners say, why do you seek the living amongst the dead? Why are you here looking for the living amongst the dead? Why do we go and focus on the dead as the dead? Because our consciousness is set and anchored in an idea that we somehow believe that death is real, and it's not. Yes, there is a separation of this earthly flesh, but does that mean it's death? Remember the phrase that says, what the caterpillar calls death, the butterfly calls life. There's another, and I don't remember the poem exactly, it's about a boat, and how the people are on the shore and they're waving as the boat sails off into the distance. And it gets smaller and smaller till eventually it's out of sight. And the people on the shore mourn and cry, and it's gone. But there is another shore somewhere else where people are seeing it getting larger and larger, and they are waving and welcoming them to the new shore. They are not dead. And the moment we anchor and realize and focus and put our concentration and our consciousness on God is all there is. We believe in God, the living Spirit, Almighty. One, infinite. One. There is only one of us. It is God. It is the I am. And it cannot die. So let us allow ourselves to breathe the holy breath of life, knowing that even when this body is no longer breathing and being breathed, that the individualized spirit, the infinite and everlasting spirit that we are, that soul that cannot die, that soul that is expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding forever, is always breathing and always being breathed. Let's pray. Knowing that there is only one infinite, everlasting love, power, beauty, and magnificence that shows up in and as and through and with me, individualized in this form. God is all there is. The I am is all there is. And so what I know is that this truth that is true for me is true for everyone in this room, everyone in this city, this state, this country, this world and beyond. Love is all there is. I honor and remember love. I honor and remember the ancestors, the family members, the strangers, those who I do not know that I know have transitioned, who have moved beyond this earthly, worldly veil of duality back into the single, one, infinite consciousness that is God. What I know is that there is no thing called death. It is merely a perspective, a point of view, and that as I shift my point of view, that as I lift my eyesight, insight, raise my vision to see, to feel, to think and be only what I know that God is, then that which God is, as life eternal, wells up in me, flows out through me, and touches every single thing that it is. There is only one. God is only one. So I honor, I remember, I respect, I lift up each and every person, whether transitioned or not, sending them love, sending them light, and knowing that they are right here, right now. For in this breath God is, and in this breath they, being God, also are. In gratitude I speak these words knowing that they are not the words of this persona, this personality, this mask called Ray, but these are the words of the I am speaking about itself, through itself, back unto itself, and into the law, where it must return, fully demonstrated, fully manifest, already done. So released, knowing that it is complete, I release these words of love, of joy, of bliss, of honoring and remembering. There is only one. And so it is.